Financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your expenses. And that's the place we want to get to. And it's going to be really hard to get there when we've just created more debt that we have to trade our time to then pay for, right? If we have to start earning more money to pay for our monthly expenses, we're going the wrong way, even though it feels like people will say, but at least I'm building my own equity. And at least I'm right. They're not actually comparing apples to apples. Did you find the necklace that went in the washing machine?
No, I didn't find it. It's still in there, still in the washing machine. This is was a gift from my husband a while ago, but I don't really like this one.
You d- Wait a second. You gave me that one. I have it right here.
No, I
And
no, I
it's
didn't.
awesome.
No, I did not. This is like some, look at this. Do you see it? It's like the Tiffany heart. Yeah, but it has the paint on it. So that was like a thing, like a swatch where you could paint it. And my husband, I don't know if this was like a hint or what. I think he was just genuinely being nice, but he chose the paint with black. So it looks like a cold
Color of
dead
your heart.
heart. Exactly. It's a cold dead heart that I wear around my neck now because my horseshoe is in the washing machine.
Oh, right. It was a horseshoe. That's why. Okay. No, I
Yeah.
was just like, I have the matching one to that, but I don't have mine with paint on it. Although I'm the one who should have the cold dead heart paint. Yours should be like a nice teal blue or a pink or something. Do you remember you gave me one and it was engraved with, it says, do you remember?
I do not. What is it? What did I give you a thoughtful gift and I don't remember what it means?
Yes, you gave me that charm, which is why I just got so offended because you're like, I don't even like this. I was like, I have the matching one to that. You have to like it. And you gave it to me years ago. I would say like 15 years ago or so. And I wear it, but I wear it on a really long chain. So it goes like inside my shirt usually. And then
Between your
basically,
boobs?
basically I keep you between my boobs. That's
Oh,
exactly what happens.
that's nice.
But you said, and you gave me this gorgeous card. And so you engraved the back of it and it says, do you remember or remember when? Now I'm questioning it, even though I look at it all the time. But you said, this will be for us when we are in our old folks' home. Just think of the collection of millions of stories we're going to have. And I have kept that charm ever since. And I wear it often. And so what's really funny about that is you're right. We half the time when when you gave that to me when we were young and our brains worked, we were like, we're gonna have all these memories. And now we have like three. So
And this is why I think that this podcast is gold. Even if a zero other people listen to it, I'm going to keep all of these and listen back because I have no memory. I don't remember that. How thoughtful of me, though. Hey, Jen, thank you so much for being here today. We are so happy to have you on the podcast. You are a graduate of the Get the Hell Out of Debt program. Yahoo! First of
congratulations.
all the
Yay!
clapping, all
Debt
the
free.
party.
Well done.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you find the Get the Hell Out of Debt program? How did you find Erin? Let's start there.
I was trying to find some way to get the hell out of debt, and I was searching up podcasts, and I was kind of excited to find this podcast by this girl who was so easy to listen to and Canadian. So I started listening to Erin's podcast. And then I had thought, well, you know what? I'm going to I went onto the website and downloaded the free tools, and I just started there. And all of a sudden, by actually paying attention to my money, I had more money. And I didn't feel like I felt like I was suffocating and drowning and everything like that. And instantly, without even doing any other work, just writing it down, all of a sudden I had some breathing room. So then I started listening a lot more intently. And then the book launch was coming. So I started paying attention to that. And I still hadn't taken the step to actually take the course. I was like, I really want to do this, but I don't know. And then when the book launch came out, I did the pre-order and did the course from there. And it has been a bumpy road and a slow go because I tend to be a slow learner. Hence
Me
why
too, Jen. Me too.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
hence why, I'm at my age and still trying to learn these things that I wish I would have paid attention to a lot sooner. But anyway, everything in life is a lesson. So then I started reading the book and doing the program before the book came in. Then I read the book, and so I worked it through, and I was actually too embarrassed at the beginning to even calculate up my debt. So I didn't even start paying attention until I had already paid a bunch off. And then I honestly can't even remember the number because I didn't mark it down. I just kept updating the net worth and not saving the old copy. So I really didn't, I just remembered the vague area where I came from, which was enough for me to be yeah, okay, we got to keep going. So it
Oh.
took a long time. And then I finally made it to phase 3. And then I've kind of been stalling ever since because
Mm.
I've realized a lot of the podcast and the book has made me realize too that I fear success as much as I fear failure. So I'm stalling. I have learned a lot of lessons and am not getting back into debt, which is a ginormous celebration because every time I've got myself out of debt, within 2 months, I've been back in debt again. So
Mhm. Good
that
for
is a big
you. It
celebration.
is huge. That's huge. And I think your number was somewhere you thought maybe around like somewhere between 20 and 30,000 in debt.
Yeah, I was like
Okay.
21-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's awesome because that's like, it's a hard number to overcome. And this is going to sound so weird, but the reason I say like having 20,000 or $30,000 in debt is sometimes harder than paying off 100,000 in debt is because it doesn't really feel urgent. It's like, it's a lot of debt, but it's not like destructive. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it can be really hard when it's like, oh, this sucks, but not enough to be really, really painful. And so the fact that you did that in a couple of years is phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. So your income was pretty standard for the debt that you paid off in a couple of years. And how we get that number is that most people, whatever your annual income is, by the time you find me on the internet somewhere, your debt is roughly 50% of your annual income, which is the place a lot of people get to when it's like, oh gosh, I'm starting to feel the squeeze because there's just not enough room on those credit cards or there's not enough room on those lines of credit or whatever. And so that's really where people start to feel that initial pinch. And so I just think the fact that you did this in such a short amount of time was incredible given the 50% ratio to income and stuff during some of the seasons that you were going through this was happening. Now, what you said earlier, that it was not a straight line and it was a little bit bumpy at times. Give people some examples of, because there's lots of people listening right now who are having those big obstacles and it isn't a straight, nothing is a straight line. What were some of those obstacles and how did you overcome them?
Oh, well, I mean, I was lucky through the whole COVID thing and I didn't lose any income. I actually got a lot of overtime. So that was helpful for the income, but it wasn't necessarily helpful for the spending. So,
Right.
I mean, once we could go do things, we just did. And I didn't pay as close of attention to certain things. And I would have to go, oh, I got to back up and do them again. So we wanted to go away for the weekend. I couldn't really afford it. So I put it on my line of credit. And I was already in this process. So, and I knew, and I kind of should all over myself. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. But yeah, like those sorts of things. And then just, oh, I'm just going to, I have this room now. I'm going to make this silly purchase or not pay attention for a few months and stop calculating my monthly spreadsheets and stuff for a few months and then go, oh, and have to bring myself back and reel myself in and do it again. So
That's going to happen. I'm going to tell you, even in phase 3, that's going to happen for the rest of your life because that's being human. And so the grace that you can give yourself around that will be really important as you start to really build wealth because you'll been so used to almost treating money decisions as if they're good or bad for so long, right?
yes,
Because they've been so hard, right? So we have to, that work will be more around, okay, what are the goals that I want for, let's say 2024 for my family? Or do you have kids?
I do. I have one.
Oh, amazing. How old's your kid?
He is 12, will be 13 very soon.
Oh gosh, so he was in the pandemic in elementary, which is like critical age.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
here, the elementary schools end in grade 5 and they go to middle school grade 6, 7, 8. So he was like grade 4, 5 as the end was the pandemic. So, and
right.
a little bit of 6 too. So,
So no wonder you wanted to get him out and doing stuff and,
yeah.
once things,
And
because that would have been really hard age to be at
yeah,
home. Yeah.
yeah. And he's my kid 100% in the way that he thinks like me and takes on the weight of the world. So he thought every time we went out to go grocery shopping, we were going to die. So it was
Oh.
really sad. I had to push him out and do stuff. And so ended up spending money on things.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I've got one of those too of my 4 kids. One of mine is very much of that mindset. It's hard. And so I just want you to just really honor yourself because even with financial decisions being good decisions or wealth building decisions or poor decisions. We also have to look at them as life decisions. And I think we're still trying to figure out, most of us, what went on in our bodies as far as stress goes during that pandemic. Because yes, I know when you look at it, you're like, oh, well, all we had to do was stay home. But inside all of us was that incredible fear and that incredible stress of like, are we going to be okay? What is happening? Like, what do the next couple of years look like? And it takes a long time for that to leave the body, or even the sort of responsive, urgent thinking where you're like, everything feels like life or death decision, right? And so I think you just did such a beautiful job. And the fact that you got some great memories out of it, it's not the worst thing, right? Obviously, now when you look at 2024 and we're like, okay, what do we want to do as a family? What goals do we have together? Let's take 2 big trips and 2 little ones or something, right? Now you can make that from a cash positive decision in phase 3, and you can start to budget and plan ahead and put that money aside, even book those flights now, whatever you need to do. And then go, okay, we're going to put the pedal to the metal. And, what is the tax-free savings account goal that I've got for myself? What is the, all those things. And you got to treat it like debt. So we almost have to, like, if your tax-free savings account maximum, your contribution amount, like let's say you've got a little bit in there, but you still got like 80,000 in contribution room. You got to treat that 80,000 like it's debt. And that you could have that tax-free savings account maxed out in 4 to 8 years based on your income and how well you've progressed, right? So it would be a challenge to do, but it would also be super fun and super rewarding to do. And given what's going on in the world, if you were just every month or every week or whatever, doing what you'd been doing when you're paying down debt and just put as much towards it as you can, you'll have that maxed out and it will compound for you over the next bunch of years to a level that actually gives you total financial freedom if you're careful. So that's like a powerful, powerful wealth building tool that could potentially be a goal, right? Because we just tell people to treat it like it's a debt you owe yourself because you haven't been focused on it while you've been paying off the debt. And so now you're going to treat it like, I got this $80,000 goal I've got to hit. I've got to max that out by, let's say, 20,000 in the next year and a half. And then the next 20,000 a year after that. And then the next 20,000 6 months after that. Right. And you just push and push and push. And you'll absolutely like see huge, huge results. Okay, so these obstacles came, one of them being the massive pandemic. What were some of the things that you really felt like, I got it? Like you had said, I'm never going back into debt again. Like you're so proud of yourself, and I am too, for not falling back into it. What are some other things that you were like, I have absolute total certainty about this thing that I've learned?
One thing that I did just recently is my cell phone was dying, and normally I would have just, we have terrible cell phone plan things here in Canada that I would have normally been like, what's the way to get my fastest phone? And so I would just now it's a leasing program, which really irritates me, especially now that I know some things from from all of this program. It just actually makes me angry. So now I've learned how to do those goals. So I haven't got very much wealth building yet because I am scared to take that step, but I have made sure that I've stuck to my guns, and I'm not going to buy that phone until I can save the money to buy it outright directly from the manufacturer. So that's what I did. And it made me feel so good. And I learned that with my newly built money muscles.
That's cool.
That is good. I think you need to teach me how to do that, please, Jen.
Yes, Jen. Do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more?
More
of
what?
this?
What do I want more of?
More of this. Come hang out in the online course, Forget the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there.
I have to check in with Erin all the time. I'm like, can I get the new iPhone today? Can I get it today?
No,
you
don't need it.
No. The answer is no. And I know that, so I just have to check in. You know what? One of my favorite exercises that Erin does with everybody is she gets them to dream about their future and talk about what their retirement looks like. Have you thought about that? What do you want your future to look like now that you're debt free and you're wealth building? What is your ultimate goal for your retirement?
Well, I'd like to retire at an age that I can still do things. So I don't want to work till I'm 70 plus. I want to be able to go on trips and not worry about day-to-day things. And it's more of a very broad goal, but I just want to live comfortably and do fun things.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I love that Erin tells people is that she has a non-negotiable in her budget, which is her chai tea lattes. Do you have one sitting at your desk right now?
I don't. I had it at 6 o'clock this morning, but I didn't have it.
So it was there. It's just not there now. Do you have non-negotiables? What are your non-negotiables that are in your budget that are things that are super important to you that you keep in there?
My gym class, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah.
like an exercise class? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the past things that I tried to listen to try and get myself out of debt was somebody who said, you need to cancel all your gym memberships and blah, 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 blah. So I turned that one off because I'm like, I don't feel it. So that's my non-negotiable. Sometimes my husband would tell me it costs too much, but it's also my sanctuary, my girls, my everything. So it just fits into my budget no matter what.
There's such a correlation between wealth and health. It's one of the first things we tell people. It's a success principle we teach them when they first come to get the hell out of debt, and we do our first little welcome with them. There are a few things I make everybody do. And one of them is exercise for 30 minutes a day. And they're like, what? I thought this was going to be a course about money. And I'm like, I don't care if you lay on the floor and you stretch. I don't care if you go for a walk. You have to get that lymph system moving, because the slump that you'll be in mentally when you're struggling with debt and stress will not be helped by no movement. And sometimes our best, most creative ideas in terms of expansion and money management and income come when we are moving our body. But not only that, it's just really important to, like, what good does it do to be debt free and extremely wealthy and die at the age of 46 because you haven't been taking care of yourself, right? So I am absolutely on board with you. And I do think the gym membership is worth it, especially when you are using it. Some people just have it as an aspirational thing in their budget category, and that's okay too, I guess. But one of the very first things we tell you to do is you have to spend 10 minutes a day with your money. You must exercise for 30 minutes a day. You must take care of your sleep, and you must hydrate. So I'm really, really proud of you that you've kept that as a non-negotiable. That's super cool.
And my non-negotiable in my schedule as well as my financial budget. So I don't feel like going. I don't care. This is my commitment. I have to do it. I push myself. So
I need you to also teach me that, Jen. Gosh, I'm learning a lot. So what are your next steps? What do you want to do next? What are you thinking? And if you're stuck, then you've got Erin here to ask her some questions.
the big goal is we live in a co-op housing, and so which is great, but we always meant it to be a stepping stone to own our own property, and that's really our ultimate goal. It scares the heck out of me because that means a big debt, way bigger than I ever took on before. But that was our initial goal, and we've been trying to work extra hard towards that. But
Okay.
it's super duper hard with the housing prices here on the island as well. So
Oh, you're on the island.
yeah,
That's
So
even
you're
better.
really on the best part of the island. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm just going to say something that's going to maybe burst your dreams a little bit. Okay. And just brace yourself, because I just want you to carefully consider whether or not owning a home is the right choice for financial freedom. And I only say this because I know a lot of people whose big dream is to own their own home, and they scrimp and they save and they put a lot of money in, and then they end up with this really big debt, and then they can't afford to do anything else. They can't afford to go on those trips. They can't afford to do. So when you're deciding like what you're going to do for your housing, I want to highly encourage you to, when you're looking at everybody else around you who maybe has a big house and a big, like, consider the fact that they might be in debt up to their wazoo. And so really making sure that whatever you're spending on housing now that you're comfortable with, that's allowed you to get completely debt free and allowed you to start building wealth. And I'm going to push you. We're going to hang up this call publicly, and I'm going to push you on a couple of things privately when we're not recording. Okay. Because I'm going to get you to do a couple of very strategic wealth building moves right away. And podcast listeners like, oh, why can't I? Listen, I'm not having the Securities Commission come after me for some. And so there's just certain things we have to be careful about when we're on the air, because we have a disclaimer that says, Rob comes on and he says, this podcast is for edutainment purposes, education and entertainment, right? But I can't give specific financial advice to the masses because somebody could take it out of context, or, I might not know something about their circumstances or whatever. But so that's why we're going to stop recording. So don't feel butthurt about that. Get in the program. We'll teach you all the things you need to know. But one of the things that I think we have to be really mindful of is sometimes there are more strategic financial moves to make before we have that dream house and before we own our own home. And so the first thing that I would tell you is the step that we're going to take before we look at you buying like a single family property or a condominium or a townhouse or something like that is we're going to look at purchasing something that has potentially a revenue component to it. It might be a house with a basement suite, and it might mean that your family's living in the basement suite because you're getting more rent for the upstairs. And that would be a stepping stone to the next place, right? Where then you take that first place and you rent out both the top and the bottom. Because sometimes what happens is people are trying to scrimp and save for a leap that's too big. But then when they get there, and I'm sure you will, then it's a long time before they can make the next leap. And so we always want to stay in a position where there's cash flowing completely and freely. So whatever your monthly housing expenses are right now, based on where you're at and the type of housing you're in, as long as the moves that you make next don't increase those costs. So we can't just compare the rent to the mortgage. That's what a lot of people do. They're like, oh, I'm paying $1,400 a month in rent right now, and I could get a mortgage for that amount. But they're forgetting that when they get the mortgage for $1,400, there's also property taxes, and there's also condo fees sometimes, or HOA fees, and there's also a lot more utilities. And when the hot water tanks goes, they're responsible for it, right? So I'm not advocating for you to stay renting, and I'm not advocating for you to buy. I'm just saying make sure we're really calculating apples to apples so that we don't end up in a worse financial position. But when you can find the right property with all of the expenses in that is equal to or less than the rent that you're paying now, that's going to be the right time to move. And that's also when it's going to be easier to get approved for that type of a mortgage, right? But I say all that, and you know that wasn't all directed directly at you. That was also for everybody listening. But it's going to be important that we carefully consider that, because sometimes when we go right from I paid off all my debt and now I'm going to buy a house, then people are stuck. And there's a lot of podcast listeners right now that are like, oh my gosh, that was me. And they'll message us at info@erinskyekelly.com and tell us their stories, and Carrie reads them all. And we have a good little cry fest for y'all, because we know how hard that is. But you're in wealth building mode, Jen, now. So we're going to do the things that we need to do to make sure that the cash that's coming in is more than covering the expenses. So financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your expenses. And that's the place we want to get to. And it's going to be really hard to get there when we've just created more debt that we have to trade our time to then pay for, right? If we have to start earning more money to pay for our monthly expenses, we're going the wrong way, even though it feels like people will say, but at least I'm building my own equity. And at least I'm right. They're not actually comparing apples to apples. So I stuck that little pin in the balloon and it burst, but it doesn't mean you're not going to get there. It just means you might not be getting there the way you want to get there. So you're going to hook up with a really great mortgage broker. I know a bunch of them on the island, having been in the industry forever. I know the good ones from the bad ones. We can find you a really great one who can help you strategize this and come up with a plan. And it's important to contact them. Have you talked to one yet?
Just casually, not officially.
Okay. Because it'll be important to get them, even if it's a year or two or a couple of years away from you being able to purchase, getting them on board so that they understand your whole file and what you're trying to achieve. And so you can keep each other updated. They keep you updated as rates and terms and all kinds of things change. And you keep them updated as to your down payment and your other circumstances as you go. But it really becomes a beautiful relationship as part of your overall team of people you'll have as you build wealth, right? You need an accountant eventually, and you need, a good realtor, and you need a good financial planner, and you need like all of those things. And the mortgage broker is one person on that team, but everybody is on board for team Gen wealth building. Like that's the whole point of all of that. Okay. So that's one goal, is we want to be in our own home because we don't want to rent, right? We don't want to, that's one goal eventually, but Erin's going to get us there in a way that doesn't cost us any money or cost us less money. What are some other goals?
To be able to travel, period. Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
I mean, I've never really done much of it.
Okay, awesome. So the other piece of advice you didn't ask for, which I'm going to just jump right in here and shit all over you, is that when we purchase a property, we want to purchase something that you're going to potentially Airbnb when you're not there. And I say that because sometimes people don't realize how easy it actually is to live a life of travel when you're comfortable having a home that you're letting other people stay in. Now, some people are terrified by Airbnb because they've read the news and they've heard horrible Airbnb stories. And I've been an Airbnb superhost and host educator for a million years. So I will tell you that the stats are wrong. And it's actually for most people a very positive, predictable experience. But what that means is when you're going to look at a home, you're going to try and find something that has an area you can lock off. So maybe it has a little den, or it has like a walk-in closet or a walk-in pantry or something. And on that pantry, you're going to put a lock of some kind, like a safe, secure lock, so that when your family goes to travel, all your valuables live in that pantry, and all your sheets and all the things that you would use as your family are in there. But then you're going to take the money you're getting from the Airbnb person that comes and stays, and that's going to be your travel money when you're off at staying in somebody else's Airbnb somewhere else, right? So there's a really cute couple called the Senior Nomads, and they were, Michael Campbell's his name, and I can't remember his wife's name, but they've written a little book about it. And how they decided to travel around the world was really this strategy of like, they didn't think they could ever retire, but when they were initially picturing retiring and traveling, they were picturing all of their regular expenses at home and then them having to save up extra money to then go travel. But when we can really dial in those expenses at home and then create some kind of revenue or income also, then it makes it so much easier because you don't have money coming out of your pocket all of the time to do all the things you want. There's also money coming in. So when you go to buy your home, you're going to look for, especially this next stepping stone home, right? This home that's one or two before your actual dream home that you pay for and that you don't have any expenses on because there's so much cash coming in that it's covering your property taxes and all of your expenses. So you're living for free. You're truly financial free because your passive income exceeds your expenses. When you're in that position, then you're never going to worry about it. But for this next house and potentially the one or two after it, as we sort of work our way up what we call the property ladder, you're going to make sure that the home that you pick doesn't just have bifold doors everywhere. Like you're going to go into those houses with your realtor and look for very specific ways that you can turn it into an income generator while you and your son and your hubby take off for 2 months and go to Italy or go to, all through Europe or whatever. So there you go. That's my unsolicited advice to you, but it's going to get you wealthier so much faster. And it's going to help you start to see home ownership so much differently.
Okay, Jen, I want to know the tea here, please. Please give me the lowdown. Is your husband on the same page as you when it comes to paying off debt and wealth building now?
Not totally. So he has his own visions. I have not yet bought the Naked Money Meetings book, and I need to get onto that one because I need to try and get him on board. He's not someone who's been in debt very much, but he looks at it with a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is kind of a way to say it.
Yeah, that's a very nice way of saying my husband doesn't do what I want.
Yep. Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say without saying it.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's okay. He probably feels the same, right? That's just the way it goes.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And you've just stayed your course for you and you're learning for you. And it's great. And so now you're going to start to build a lot of wealth, and it's okay if his opinion differs. That's fine. There's, lots of husbands that cheer for the wrong sports teams. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's right. But I think what's cool is that you're sticking to your path and doing what you need to do. And then, eventually maybe you'll be on the same page. Naked Money Meetings will really help you with that. It's worth a listen or a read because it will really help you understand why he thinks the way he thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll help you strategize ways that you can both end up where you want to end up without any financial friction in the relationship.
I'll send you the link to the quiz too. You can take the online quiz, which is a shorter version of what's in the book, but at least we'll figure out what your money blocks are. And then it gives you the opportunity to share it with your hubs too, if he's interested in taking it. So that at least, even if he's not interested in learning about it right now, you can find out where you're at and then where he's at too, if he takes the couple minutes to do the quiz, and then you will know better how to, work with him. Like Erin has said before in other podcasts, then you can just find little ways to tweak your relationship and how to perhaps get him on the same page with you. Okay, before we go, I want Jen to give advice to people that are listening to this. If this is the first podcast they've ever listened to, they've never heard of Erin or Get the Hell Out of Debt before, and they're in the place where you were and had debt. What would your best advice be to someone that's just hearing this for the first time?
Stick with it. Don't give up.
Yeah, I like that because you said that you had like fallen off a couple times, right? And that's very normal, but you just got back on. And I think that that's really important, both in horseback riding and in debt payoff.
And it's normal. It's super normal. Yeah, it's normal. It's not like a linear path. It's not like you get on the horse and the horse goes forever. I fell off a horse, like for real. I still have, actually, I had a little PTSD just then.
You did? When did you fall off a horse?
I think I don't know. I was young. I was like at my aunt's family's farm. I fell off a horse. Oh my gosh.
And you didn't get trampled or anything? Thank goodness.
No, but I'm having some trauma right now.
Maybe you were really injured. How many fingers am I holding up?
Maybe that explains things. Oh, now it's all coming together.
I can't believe that I was not warned that I was in the presence of two royal princesses today. and I'm wearing a hoodie.
I mean, I think you should probably just curtsy anyway. Thank
Did
you.
I do it right?
No, deeper. It's fine. You can get practice. You do it next time, and I'm sure you'll be better.
Okay,
with
so
practice.
you were the Creston Blossom Festival princess, and she was Miss Denver?
New Denver. I'm not sure if she won it or if she was like, I was a princess. You know what? I'm so tired of talking about this. I just, please acknowledge that I am royal and let's move on. Like, this is becoming too much about my identity.
You're like, I have a life to live.
I have a life. I have moved on. I am doing bigger. I've taken my fame and I've moved on, and I'm doing, charitable work now with my title, and it's time to move on. Yep.
All right. Well, I am going to send her a copy of Naked Money Meetings. So she's got one. And
Awesome.
I'm going to send you an extra large hat to fit your head.